I am really excited for this episode. I have with me Jennifer Helene. She's an international expert in health and a serial entrepreneur. She has been deeply immersed in cutting edge nutrition, fitness, and spiritual thought leadership. So, Jennifer, are you ready to enter the grid?
Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome. So, tell me a little bit more about yourself, your childhood, and what you do now.
Oh, well, I entered the grid, so now I'm officially in.
Okay, cool.
And
Awesome.
I love that it's called the success grid, because I
Yeah,
think
cool.
that my childhood is a reflection of what led me to be successful. Like all of our stories can either make or break us. And I was a very sick child. And I think that for most people, they don't get sick until they're much older, so that they kind of take
Mm.
their health for granted. And at like age 7, something was wrong. They didn't know what it was. It took them actually almost a year to figure out what was wrong, and they thought I had leukemia, which is pretty scary. Like
Yeah, very
being
scary.
7 years old, yeah, like going in the children's oncology department and trying to figure out what was wrong and why was my white blood cell count so high. And come to find out, after the bone marrow biopsy, which took a long time for them to even do that, um, they realized I didn't have leukemia. I had some rare
Great.
bone infection. So I was in with
Okay.
intravenous antibiotics for a year, and I was basically, the whole thing was laid me up in a wheelchair for like
Wow.
3 years.
Really?
Yeah. So it was intense, the whole journey.
Very
Um,
intense.
Yeah,
Uh,
and so now that I have a daughter, I saw at age 7, she was like totally like into her body, and she was running and playing and finding out all these cool things about herself, and I didn't
cool.
actually have that.
Yeah.
And so I had a lot of problems with my health as a result of the high dosage of antibiotics, like acute health problems that Western medicine actually didn't have solutions for. And so what happened as a result of this episode in my early childhood was that I had to seek answers outside of what Western medicine had to offer me. And I ended
Wow.
up
Okay.
studying Buddhist medicine internationally. I became a Ford model, which was totally unexpected. And I had to find these solutions myself, and they had to be holistic solutions, like
Yeah.
irritable bowel syndrome, skin problems. Like I had a lot of these issues that just Western medicine had failed me time and time and time again. And I exhausted all options that I had with Western medicine. And I found long-term solutions that completely changed the way I felt, the way I thought, the way I interacted with the world. And it was profound. And then the more I studied, the more I wanted to study. And even today, 30 years later, I not 30 years later from my episode, because I'm older than that, of course. But I've really been studying for 30 years.
So yeah,
And
yeah. You talked about away from Western medicine. What medicine did you look up into?
I went to this doctor. I was on location in Germany,
Yeah.
and desperately seeking solutions. And he said to me, "You need to clean your blood." And I was like,
What?
clean my
How does
blood?"
that? How does that happen? Clean your blood?
Exactly. It was so strange. I
Yeah.
didn't understand. So that really made me curious. And so I took herbs, and I went to, cleaner eating, and I eliminated some foods, and stopped eating dairy and sugar and gluten. And I really started to try to, troubleshoot and guess at what was going to help me. And so they're holistic solutions that grandmothers have been using on their grandkids their whole lives, using herbs from the mountains,
Exactly.
using,
Yeah.
vegetables from the garden. And it
Yeah.
didn't matter which culture I was in. All the grandmothers were using similar methodologies to
Yeah.
heal their grandkids and their kids.
Yeah.
And so I lived in Europe for 10 years. I traveled all over the world. I was in the fashion industry. I'm a serial entrepreneur. And now in the last 10 years, I've been really hyper focused on getting this message out to the world
Mm.
around holistic healing solutions
Cool.
that are really practical and are different than what is happening in the mainstream. And so the faster we live and the more we want to perform and the more we want to consume, not only of media and content and information, the further away we get from nature. And what I've
Yeah.
realized is that following the natural law is the most powerful medicine, because
Exactly.
one of the ways I think I've become successful in my work as well as in my health is by following my practice. So whatever I'm practicing, I'm succeeding at.
Cool.
Yeah. And so I practice, if I'm practicing positive thinking, I'm succeeding at that. If I'm practicing negative thinking, I'm succeeding at that.
Cool.
So my saying is always, your daily practice is your strongest medicine.
Exactly.
And if you're sitting all day, breathing stale air, that's your practice and that's the result you're getting. And
Yeah.
if you're active and moving, that's the result you're getting. If you're moving too much and injuring yourself, that's also the result you're getting. So, we have to really be honest with ourselves about what we're practicing. If you're in a dysfunctional relationship, what role are you playing in that relationship, whether it's a romantic relationship or a business relationship, so it's a really interesting study, and I've developed methodologies around that. I've built online programs. I have thousands of students in over 60 countries, and so I'm really committed to this mission.
Awesome.
Because our health is the most important thing.
Exactly.
Without it, we can't be.
Jim Rohn used to say, "If you neglect your health, you will neglect your wealth."
Perfect.
Yeah. So speaking of herbs and stuff like that, when for example, when my stomach hurts, my grandmother used to tell me, drink green tea or drink chamomile or drink something like this. I said, no, I'll be fine. But she was right. A lot of these herbs are really good for, especially now in COVID situation. We started a lot of these things got in it and into the way that you should drink more natural herbs and stuff like that. Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
all day long.
Exactly. So they say, if nothing changes, if nothing will change, nothing. If nothing will change, if nothing changes, right? So what is change? What is change in general? Because to us all, change is different, right? What is change to you, or to the woman you talk to?
I love that. I love the quote, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's really important for all of us listening to this and in this conversation today. We have to be aware of what needs changing. And you can't assess the change that needs to happen until you get honest with yourself.
Yeah.
Usually life will show you what needs to change. Like you'll get a disease, or you'll have diabetes, or you'll get cancer. And then like life demands it from you, or you'll have financial ruin, or your company will not succeed. And then it's like, oh, you have to pay attention to that. But I like the preventative model because it's just smarter. Like you can prevent those massive life-changing tragedies from occurring if you can just be honest with yourself today. It's hard to be honest with yourself. And usually the people in your life can see it more clearly than you can, the people around you.
Yeah.
And for me, I had to change my relationship with food. I had to change my expectation that somebody else had the answers and that I didn't. I didn't know where to find the answers. And so it took me a lot of research, a lot of time, a lot of money in developing myself and educating myself on and making myself the test subject to see, okay, this works, this doesn't work. Like I've tried every diet under the sun. And I can say for a fact, paleo and
the health industry is all over the place. Like there is like a million kind of diets.
I know, it's unreal. But it's real. And I think everyone should try and see what works for them. But I have some insight now into biology and physiology and chemistry that not only gives me personal proof from my own body and what I feel, but also from, science and what science is telling us. And the pieces are starting to come together in a way that's really powerful. And I can say that I think eating more plants is definitely going to get everyone healthier. That's a really simple takeaway for everybody who's on this podcast right now, is that you can eat more plants and no one can dispute that. No research, nobody. I mean, some people might say these plants are better than those plants. Okay. But eating plants in season, best way to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Fruits and vegetables. It's
yeah,
really simple. Eat more of them.
apples are good for you. Don't say like the doctors always recommend to eat an apple a day. That keeps the
Right.
doctor away.
That's right.
This is everywhere.
Totally. You can't dispute it. So that's one thing that can change, right? You can eat less dairy, eat less pastries or bread or pasta or pizza, eat more vegetables, eat more tomatoes, eat more lemons, eat more, apricots, whatever's in season.
Yeah,
I'm just staring at my
yeah.
apricots. Oh, artichokes are growing out of my window here. So, artichokes. So
Good. I like to drink anything that's like lemon or grapefruit. They taste really good. Yeah. So
awesome.
this change can it be sustainable? Can it be continuous for any person?
It's a really good question. And I think that's up to us.
Yeah.
That is our choice. And we are at choice. And whatever we're choosing is powerful, right? Again, back to whatever you're choosing, whatever you're practicing is your strongest medicine. So it's up to us whether or not it's sustainable.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I think that in that prevention model that I just spoke about, it's important that it is sustainable. Because if you're yo-yoing with your commitment around your health, you're going to yo-yo around your commitment with your business, your finances, your parenting, your relationships. I mean, it's never isolated to just your food or your finances or your business. If you're like, playing games and trying to negotiate with your health, you're doing the same thing in your relationships and in your business and in your finances. And we're all doing it. I'm not going to say I'm not doing it because we all are doing it. But at some point, like a kid, I don't know about you. I mean, my daughter, she's negotiating with me all the time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'll do this if you do that, or how much you're going to, no. It's like constant.
Kids now, they are smarter than we used to be. When I was a kid,
I think so.
I wasn't that demanding, I guess. I wasn't demanding at all. I didn't demand anything from my parents at all. Nowadays, they are all, I want this new phone. I want this new toy. I want this. I want more allowance. They are so demanding.
But we're doing the same things with ourselves. We have that inner adolescent that's saying, oh, I want ice cream. Oh, I want this. Can I have that? And it's like, you can't outrun your sport.
It is just another slice of pizza, for example.
Right. Yeah. So I think we have to draw the boundaries within ourselves to make it sustainable. We have to come to some conclusions on what we're committed to, and we have to be clear about what it is we want to create.
Yeah, exactly.
And not be a victim of our circumstances. Some people say, oh, well, I can't stop eating junk food because there's junk food in the house. My husband wants it. My kids want it. That's an excuse. No, like you have to commit to something and you have to follow through. And it's not only about food. I mean, what I realized is the magical formula is made up of 3 pillars. It's food, fitness, and mindset. You have to eat right. Lots of fruits and vegetables, not too much food, not too much fat, like moderation. You have to move your body. You've got to, but you can't move your body and expect to negotiate and say, okay, I can eat more, way more, and exercise it off. I mean, you can do that, but you're going to hurt yourself, and it's not really going to work long term.
Yeah, there are a lot of people do that.
It. So, and if you're eating greens all day and you're feeling guilty, that's not going to work either. So you've got to have the good mindset, the positive commitment.
Exactly.
You got to have that understanding and honesty. You've got to move your body, and you've got to eat right. And I think everyone knows what that is.
Speaking of change, there's comfort zone connected to it, because we are all in this circle that we don't want to jump out of it. So what is comfort zone had to do with it? What do you think of comfort zone?
Well,
and how we can break from it?
Yeah, I love it. It's such a great conversation. I mean, there's always going to be things that are inside of our comfort zone and outside of our comfort zone. And I think for me and my work with my clients and the methodologies that I build, we have to be able to figure out what are the edges of the comfort zone, right?
Okay.
Like there are some things that are like right at the edge of the comfort zone. So how do I relate to getting out of my comfort zone? For me, it's thrilling. For some people, it's terrifying. So I think first understanding, okay, I've got a comfort zone. What's in it? What's out of it? And like some things are out of it. Like I'm not really comfortable skydiving. Right. Yeah. That's out of it. But that's not really that important to me either. Exactly. So it used to be that even posting on Facebook was out of my comfort zone. Really? But that was something that, Yeah, that was something that I felt like I want that in my comfort zone because that's not actually working for me. That's working against me. And I realized that was something that I could be vulnerable and post and I can figure that out. Like I felt like that would be beneficial to me. Whereas skydiving, I was okay to kind of leave that out of my comfort zone. So I think it's important to realize what it feels like to relate to being out of your comfort zone. What's that word? For me, it's thrilling, right? For some
Thrilling.
people, so yeah. So I know that when I feel a little thrilled, I'm kind of expanding my comfort zone a little wider. And some people might feel terror. Some people might feel avoidant. Some people might feel ambiguous. Like, so there's to find your word, whatever that word is, how you relate to getting outside your comfort zone, what it feels like to be there. Just so you know when you're touching that point. And then that's what expansion feels like. That's what expanding
Yeah,
the comfort zone feels like. So
exactly.
people can relate to it
So,
more
so,
honestly.
so
And
you
then
would expand your comfort zone, becomes bigger and bigger with time.
if I'm not expanding my comfort zone every day, I'm not actually growing. That's
Exactly.
that's my motto. And so I have to get in my comfort zone in my physical fitness. I have to get in my comfort zone in my food, more or less. I have to push my comfort zone in my intimacy with my romantic relationship. I've got to push out of my comfort zone in my ability to accept in my parenting and let go because my daughter's a teenager now. So that's my edge. So it's like, what's your edge inside your comfort zone? And what is required? What are the ingredients required for you to kind of keep pushing and expanding
Exactly.
that comfort zone? Not from a place of like, I'm not enough, but from like, I want to grow. And
Exactly.
who am I growing into? And how am I going to get there? And I love that you brought up comfort zone because it's real. Like I'm comfortable, eating what I eat. I don't want to try anything new. Well, too bad. Well, I have these artichokes on my countertop just across the room.
You seem to love artichoke very
I
much.
know. I'm like, I can't. I have like 50 artichokes outside, and so I got to eat them every day. And it's like, well, I don't really want to eat them with the butter, right? So, what's it like for me to just eat them plain,
Yeah.
or for me to do something different with it? So it's like that's even out of my comfort zone, right?
Yeah.
Doing something different with your diet. If food is such an emotional connection, like
Yeah.
people who want to reduce or eliminate coffee, that is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
What am I going to drink? If I'm not going to have a sandwich for lunch, what on earth am I going to eat? That's not comfortable. So it's constantly like getting creative and curious about what your options are to keep growing and expanding
Exactly.
outside of your comfort
So,
zone.
so we have this comfort zone, but why do some people choose to stay in it, to limit themselves in
Mm.
the comfort zone? Why don't they try? Like you said, maybe skydiving or bungee jumping is too much. But
Yeah.
yeah, maybe they thought they will crash into Earth or something. But
That's what it feels like.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, but yeah, actually, I had an uncle who was in military and he was skydiving all the time. I told him I will never do that. I will never ever do skydiving. Maybe the parachute won't open.
Yeah.
So, so yeah,
Possible.
yeah, yeah. This. But why do some people keep themselves in the comfort zone? Never try something even just a little bit more outrageous.
I think that fear
Yeah,
is definitely that. I think discomfort is in and of itself not pleasant. So nobody wants to be uncomfortable. I think we also surround ourselves with people who are really not committed to getting uncomfortable. And it can be it can be a real problem in a relationship. And I coach women and men around this all the time. When the man is growing and then the woman's like left behind, or vice versa, the woman's
yeah,
growing and the man is kind of left behind, and then the relationship falls apart. There are a lot of consequences
yeah,
to getting out of your comfort zone.
yeah.
Um, it's also that people are, and this is going to sound kind of not nice, but people are comfortable and okay with mediocrity. And I actually
Yeah.
have a kind of envy for those people. I'm like, oh, they're okay just being like that. Like like they're happy and peaceful, and they're okay with it. And it's
Yeah,
like I can't relate to that
yeah,
actually. And
exactly.
I can't, and I don't want to say mediocrity as if it was something that's bad. It's just I can't relate to it. But I see when I go out in the world, a lot of people just totally fine with their mediocrity. It's
I
as
tell
if they're wearing blinders and they can't see,
exactly.
past.
I tell you why. Maybe some of them not. not religious, maybe religious views or something like it's in life God made some things for them and that's it.
Yeah.
That is what may be seeing, but
I like that.
actually, if you read even religious books, you see that the Creator, okay, enforce us to look beyond and work for more and
In
to
every
achieve
religion.
more. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. That's true.
But some people, like you, they said they have this and they are like that. There is
I
no.
really like what you said, Hasim. It's really, really beautiful, actually, because I think God also wants us to be happy.
Yeah.
And God puts a longing in our hearts for something, right? And
Mm.
every human being, no matter what race, religion, creed, culture, we all have this human longing in our hearts. And it's not so much the longing for more, it's the longing for satisfaction, it's a longing for delight, it's a longing for freedom, it's a longing for health. That's our birthright.
Yeah.
And we long for love and to be loved. And
Mm.
all of those things require us oftentimes to get out of our comfort zone.
Mm. So, okay, let me ask you how we can see those, what is blocking us and how to stop it.
I love it. It goes back to that radical honesty. And again, that prevention model that I mentioned, because
Mm.
like life will show you at some point. I guarantee it. I haven't met a person yet who hasn't had some kind of major life crisis that hasn't made them look at
Shifted,
their life.
yeah, yeah.
Oh my, yeah. Like it is shocking. Like it's like God will, or whomever is going to say, you got to look at this and you got to look at it now. And it's like, so either you do it preventatively or you do it as a reaction to some circumstance that popped up that's unavoidable, right? Like
Yeah,
financial destruction or, whatever. I mean, God also
yeah,
makes the tornadoes and floods and
yeah,
hurricanes and tsunamis. It's like, it's going to happen no matter what. Like either you're on board ahead of time and ready for it and
yeah,
resilient. And so how do you find them? If you're not going to wait for it to happen as some kind of crisis, you got to look. And usually it's like an area that isn't what I call resonant. It's an
yeah.
area that doesn't, it's like, when your shoes fit, like you're not thinking about your foot. When your shoes fit really well, it's like your shoes fit, like you don't have to worry about it. But like, let's say you get a hole in your sole or your shoe starts to get too tight because you're, I don't know, inflamed or something. You start to like, oh, that's not comfortable. You got a cut on your foot. It's like there's some kind of discomfort somewhere in your life, in a relationship, in your health, in your parenting, in your job, in your work. There's some discomfort, and that's usually where it pops up. It can be small, medium, big, but that's usually how you find out where you need to do your work.
So you were talking about discomfort. You mentioned positive discomfort and injurious discomfort. What are those two exactly?
Well, when I'm exercising, let's say I'm doing push-ups, and like you start to feel that burn. And you're like, oh, that's intense. Like, wow, that hurts. You're like you're starting to burn on your shoulders or wherever. And then you're like, that's a good discomfort because that's actually what it feels like to get stronger.
Yeah,
And it's no different in like your emotional realm or your spiritual realm. It's the same kind of discomfort, but it's really good to like, you feel it. You're like, oh, that's strength. Now, if you do too many push-ups, what's going to happen? You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get a shoulder problem or you're going to have really sore muscles. You want a little bit of a sore muscle, right? But
yeah,
you're like, when you overdid it, you did too many push-ups or pull-ups, it. And that's when you're going on to injury. And that's when you got too greedy or you felt guilty and you needed to overdo because you ate too much the day before or whatever, like, or you're competing, because you're like, I gotta do 30 or 50 or 100.
yeah,
And that's where it. So I'm just using that as an example because like the same thing happens. We have to look at our intention behind why we're solving any given problem. Is it to compete with your neighbor? Is it to, is it to make more money when actually you have enough already? Is it to, I don't know. There's all these nuances inside of when it's good discomfort or when it's injurious discomfort.
Mm.
It's a
Yeah,
really good question.
yeah. So you said that we have to be uncomfortable to know that maybe if my muscle hurts a bit, I know it's like getting bigger and it's growing. So getting uncomfortable is the feeling of growth. It is where we as a human reach the next level, right?
I believe that's true.
Yeah.
That is how we grow. And I'm interested in that prevention model. So we're constantly growing and building resilience so that when life's challenges come, if they do, when they do, that we're ready. We're ready to face them head on. Because what often happens is people get taken down. You know, they get depressed, they get addicted to drugs, they lose their health because they just get decimated by life because life is hard.
Yeah.
And if you've got your health, you know, and you've got your head and your wits about you, you know, you can navigate.
Exactly.
And that's what I call emotional stamina. And it's something that I'm actually really interested in these days is how do you develop emotional stamina? And it's tricky.
That's cool. Emotional stamina.
Yeah, it's interesting. Because we have to be agile and we have to learn that resilience. Because, you know, it's going to come. We have anxiety. We have, worry, you know, we have, sometimes we get frustrated. I don't know about you. Sometimes I get frustrated. Things are happening fast.
Yeah, we are human. Sometimes we get to a place where I'm not doing this chore anymore, or I'm not doing this thing anymore because it feels uncomfortable.
Right? Such a brain twister. Totally. But we have to become resilient inside of that. So that we have to create a kind of stamina. Because like, look, I know for a fact that if we keep shoving our frustration and our anger and our upset, if we keep shoving it down, it's going to develop into some kind of disease. That is a fact. There's a whole field of science called psychoneuroimmunology that is showing that is a fact. And the more we can move that energy, the better it's going to be, because I believe emotions are just energy in motion. And if we don't do something with it that's productive, then it's going to cause a lot of mess. Exactly. Like, let's say an unproductive way of expressing an emotion is like passive aggressive. Like if I smear it at you, like, oh, why are you saying this? And why did you say that? And what are you doing? And it's not about them, right? It's always about us. And so we have to be productive about how we're processing our emotion. And we have to be honest, because most people just like, oh, I shouldn't be angry. I got to be Zen. You know, I shouldn't be
a little bit frustrated. Of meditation.
Yeah. And that might work, but I believe we have to move it with our breath, with our body movements. We have to be able to move it, feel it totally, and then move it. But we can't be smearing it on other people. That's dangerous.
Yeah, cool.
But we do.
So this is what do you think about health for entrepreneurs? Because, you know, people who think about a project or starting a business or whatever, they always maybe focus on the business or something like that and forget and neglect their health. So
that always happens. Yeah, I have this business breakthrough program that I'm launching in a couple of weeks, and I'm really excited about it because it's all about this. It's like you can have it all, but you've got to be really intentional about how you spend your time. Because you can start a business and you want to give all of yourself to it. I get that. But you're not going to be able to give everything you've got unless you're taking care of your health. Bottom line. It doesn't mean you need to spend 4 hours a day meditating and exercising and cooking. But it does mean that you need to, at the bare minimum, move your body 20 to 30 minutes a day. You've got to, at a bare minimum, eat clean food that's going to keep your head clear, to get rid of the chemicals in your life, get rid of the crap that's not giving you vitality. I mean, really got to tighten
a lot of sugar that's doing that to us. A lot of sugar, not good.
Not good. No, you don't get your energy from sugar, folks. No, it actually leads you into an addictive cycle that totally impairs your immune response. It totally impacts your energy stability, your ability to have that emotional stamina. Sugar is going to derail you every single time. Alcohol is sugar. You know, pasta, pizza, white flour is sugar. Like getting off the sugar train is one of the best things anybody can do for their lives, their immune system, their vitality, their health, their beauty. I mean, I can go on and on.
Well,
there's really no value.
The important thing, the important thing is beauty for you.
No. Yes, that's important. But yeah, the quality of, but really when men and women are interviewed, men definitely think, of course, beauty is important, but it's not actually the most important thing. It's not actually the most important thing. And I was shocked.
It's the first impression. It's only the first impression. That's but what comes after that?
It's the beauty that comes from within. It's this energy here. And if I'm on a roller coaster emotionally, it's going to be really a turn off.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this girl is like, she's pretty on the face, but whoa. Exactly. So, and the sugar contributes to that roller coaster, right? So you want to have that stable blood sugar so you can manage all the stuff that's getting thrown at you all day long. I mean, I don't know about you, but life is full. It's really busy. You know, gosh, and it doesn't get it's unrelentless. It's unrelenting. So you've got to be able to manage yourself, and definitely eradicating sugar from your life is a great first step on just clarifying your mind so you can even know what's going on, because we get overwhelmed.
So let me ask you, what are the 3 keys to achieving optimal health? I think you answered that in your talk, but let's put them in 3 points.
Food. Get your food straight. So get rid of the chemicals, get rid of the sugar, reduce the alcohol, reduce the nicotine, just make sure that your food is clean. Eat food from its source, as close to its source. Like, so that means if I'm going to eat a potato, I'm going to eat the whole potato, not the flour from the potato. The rice, the whole rice, not the flour from the rice, right? So that's food from its source. First thing. Second thing is movement. We've got to move our bodies. We've got to get outdoors if you can, exercise on a treadmill, in the park, whatever, on a track, whatever you can do. Run, jump. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't need a gym membership. You just got to move your body. Do some push-ups, do some sit-ups, play with your kids, dance around the living room, whatever it is. Move. Park from the grocery store, maybe in the furthest parking spot away to get a little bit of a walk.
5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah. Take the steps sometimes instead of the elevator. Whatever you can do, get your heart rate up, get your blood moving, get the oxygen flowing. Exercise is by far, I think, the most important thing. And if you're not exercising, you're actually having a slow death. Like your capillary density is being compromised, your brain functioning is being compromised, your cellular reproduction is being compromised. You can't detox your body. You've got to exercise. Human beings were meant to exercise.
Exactly.
Walking is great. I mean, it doesn't have to get complicated. I mean, of course you can make it complicated, but don't like really just got to move your body. That's essential every single day. I mean, some people would say, okay, take one day off, but every day do something.
At least, I would personally recommend at least 3 days a week, at least at
a bare minimum. And that will kind of keep you at status quo. But if you want to like be growing, you got to be challenging yourself every day in some way. So if you're doing 10 minutes a day, do 12, next week, do 15. So just constantly be growing in that way. Yes. Change it up. And then the third thing is mindset. You have to do an inventory of what you're thinking and how you're being. And I know that's incorrect English, but like, how are you being? If you're being manic about, your physical fitness and your nutrition, that's not okay, right? You gotta check yourself. You gotta really inventory, like, how happy am I? How satisfied am I in all of these areas of my life, in my work, in my finances, in my parenting, in my romantic relationship, in my family relationship. So you've got to really figure it out, in my spirituality, in my intellectual growth. You've got to really do an inventory and figure out all these areas that make up your life. How satisfied are you? And then what areas do you need to adjust and fine tune so that you can grow and become happier and healthier and more whole.
So the mind and the body. What's the connection between these two?
I think it's right here. Kidding. No, but it's so perfectly designed, right? And it is right here, right? This is the connection. And what happens here? We take food in and we take breath in,
Yeah.
right? We take our breath in.
Exactly.
And I heard something the other day that I just loved. Just the breath only knows the present moment.
Yeah.
The breath only knows the present moment. So the
Wow.
best way to connect your mind to your body is through your breath. And
Exactly.
so I believe that anytime you're facing difficulty, anytime there's a behavior that you want to change that you know is negatively impacting your life, you have to breathe. You got to lean into it and you got to breathe through it. You can't go around it. You can't go underneath of it. You can't go above it, or you can't bypass it. You've got to go through it.
Through
And
it.
it's
Yes.
this breath that will take you there
Mm.
every single time. It controls your nervous system. It controls everything in your body. Without it, we die like really quickly. It's like, we need it. It is our life force. And so
Yeah.
I believe our breath is the most powerful tool that is underused. It's not a fad, it's not in fashion, right? But it is the number one tool.
Exactly. So how can we gain clarity of mind? This how we can go into this direct path instead of just zigzagging.
Well, we have to first harness our mind. And that the first step I find is eliminating the stimulants in our diet. So
Mm.
we've got to get rid of flour and sugar, nicotine, caffeine, right? These are
Mm.
stimulants that are impacting our brain. And that
Yeah.
is something that helps us to harness our mind. And then that with the breath, like the breath will actually help to calm the mind. There are practices throughout time that have shown Buddhist practices, Vedic practices, all cultures at some point have come to this. This breath will shift the nervous system so that we can have clarity of mind. So
Yeah.
slowing down the breathing, coming more into the present moment, but also being honest with ourselves and making sure that our minds are on target and that we're able to really be honest with ourselves. And you have to
Yeah.
take some distance from this. You got to be able to look at yourself from perspective.
Yeah.
You got to kind of try to put yourself outside of yourself in order to see yourself clearly. And that's a practice, but that's the
Mm.
first step, or those are the first steps. Clarify
Yeah.
the vehicle, meaning proper nutrition, getting rid of the stimulants, getting out of that addictive cycle, using the breath to be present and to be able to see clearly, and then take some distance so you can actually see what's going on in there. Because you are not it. You are not your thoughts. They're just doing their own
Yeah.
thing, and
Thing.
you
Yeah.
get to parent your thoughts and be like, hey,
Exactly.
that thought isn't really serving you anymore. You should probably consider, you know changing your mindset on that, changing
Yeah.
your perspective, putting a different set of glasses on. Look at
Maybe
life through a different set of glasses.
red glasses, red frames, or blue frames, or green frames. You can change that. Yeah. So let me let me ask you, what can you explain equanimity? What is equanimity?
Equanimity, that's a really good question. For me, equanimity is when all is well. It's a
Yeah.
really good word. It's such a beautiful word. It means like when
Yeah.
things are kind of in flow, when
I.
things are balanced,
Mm.
then that's also in the body, homeostasis, right? When we have equanimity in the body, we don't have disease, we don't have imbalance. We have equanimity. When we have
Mm.
equanimity in our finances, money is flowing, it's going out, it's coming in. There's equanimity in our businesses. When there's equanimity, we have win-win situations where our clients are winning and we are winning, and humanity hopefully is also winning.
Yeah.
That would be
Exactly.
my vision and my wish.
Yeah.
But that's I mean, it's a fantastic word and something that I think we
No,
all should relate to.
yeah, I loved it. I read it on your website. I saw it on your website. I was thinking, what is this word?
I love that word.
So, okay,
Yeah.
so you have the free 7-day lifestyle plan and the business breakthrough program. Can you tell us a little
Yeah.
about this?
Well, if you guys would like a free gift for listening today, I'd love to offer you a 7-day lifestyle plan. You can get it for free on my website, jennifer-helene.com. And that'll just be a download that gets emailed to you when you enter your name and email. And it's going to give you recipes and some new ideas on plant-based food, raw food. And it'll be delicious and nutritious. And also some tips on what you may want to insert into your daily practice, right? Or your daily routine, or however you want to look at it. But some suggestions on when to do what. Like start your day with lemon water, consider some restorative time. restorative time looks different for everybody, but I made some suggestions. And so that'll be a fun thing to try and to share. And of course, I'm available if you have questions, please contact me. And there's a Facebook group you can join because let's face it, 7 days isn't a big time, but it is a big commitment and it's something new, which is uncomfortable. So you might need some help and guidance and you may have questions. So feel free to join the Facebook group. There'll be an invitation in the email. And then the Business Breakthrough Program is a much bigger commitment. It's for entrepreneurs who want to take their businesses to the next level. And that's a year-long commitment. And so,
cool.
Yeah, it's a big commitment. It is. Yeah, I'm intense. I can't help it.
You are powerful.
Thank you. And if you really want to make big difference in your life and your business, it takes some support, some accountability, exactly. And it takes
you need to work with some people.
Yeah,
exactly. So Jennifer, thank you very much for being here today with the Success Grade podcast. I really love this one. And awesome. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your authenticity, and thank you for your genuine curiosity.
Thank you.